I always thought the worst way to ruin a party was to get so drunk you forget your own name. But it turns out the real disaster starts when a bottle of salsa looks like a bottle of after-sun lotion. It all started on the beach in Santa Monica. The sand was still holding on to the heat of the day. The waves shimmered under the moonlight, and the DJ under the canopy was blasting his tracks like it was the last night on Earth. The air smelled of the ocean, rum, and that ridiculous hope that hangovers don't exist. I stepped out of the crowd because my head was buzzing and my lungs were begging for a little smoke. My cigarette glowed like a lighthouse in the fog. And that's when she appeared next to me. "Mind if I get a light?" Her voice was raspy. Maybe from laughing too much? Maybe from too many tequila shots? Couldn't tell. I nodded and noticed her hands trembling a little as she leaned in closer. Her dark hair spilled over her shoulders, carrying the scent of coconut and sea salt. "Emma," she said, exhaling her first drag. "Jake," I answered, and I thought, for a night like this, that was the perfect name. Short, simple, impossible to forget. After the third bottle, we stood there watching the crowd under the canopy lose control of the rhythm. Her gaze drifted off into the distance, and then she suddenly muttered, "I think I'm burned. Damn, my back's on fire. You wouldn't happen to have any after, sun, would you? Somewhere." "Yeah," I said automatically. I glanced around. Near the bar counter, there was a bottle lying on the ground. Looked just like After Sun. The light barely reached it, but the label glinted a fiery red. I didn't think twice. Alcohol and logic don't mix. "Hold still. I'll help you," I said with the kind of seriousness you'd expect from someone about to save a person from a heart attack. She turned her back to me, lifting her hair. I twisted the cap open and poured a generous splash of the thick reddish liquid onto her shoulders. First she froze. Then she inhaled sharply, and that's when it began. Ah! Her scream shot across the beach so loud the DJ actually stopped the track. What happened? My blood ran cold, thinking maybe she'd fainted or something. "You just rubbed salsa on my back, you idiot." Her voice was pure chaos, a cocktail of pain and fury. Panicked. People reacted instantly. Couple turned their heads. The bartender leaned over the counter. And somebody burst out laughing so hard the whole beach roared like a stadium. "Wait, I'll fix it." In a frenzy, I grabbed the nearest glass off a table and dumped cold beer across her back. She shrieked even louder, like I just doused her with acid instead of lager. "Jake." I was trying to help. I stammered, blushing harder than the salsa burning her skin. And then, like the grand finale of this disaster, the bartender came running with a fire extinguisher in his hands. "Step away from her," he shouted, and without hesitation, he pulled the trigger. A cloud of white foam swallowed us both. I coughed, she coughed, and the crowd howled with laughter. Phones were already out recording every second. What the hell is going on here? A security guard pushed through the mob with a flashlight, looking ready to arrest somebody. I raised my hands like a criminal caught red-handed. It's a misunderstanding. I thought it was After Sun, but it was salsa. The place erupted with laughter. Someone dropped a cup. Someone whistled. Even the security guy cracked a crooked grin. And Emma, covered in white foam, a red blotch of salsa still blazing on her back, looked at me like she was deciding whether to kill me now or save it for later. She bent over, bracing her knees, and burst out laughing. Real raw, slightly insane laughter. And in that moment, I realized either I'd just earned myself a lifetime ban from this bar, or I'd met the one person without whom parties would never make sense again because damn, she was too good. They practically carried Emma and me out by the arms. The bouncer was built like a mountain with the face of a man who'd seen it all. From fist fights over lime shots to attempted tequila heists. But even he looked confused watching us doubled over in hysterics covered in salsa beer and fire extinguisher foam. "You two are officially persona non grata," he muttered like he was quoting the law itself. "Banned from coming back here ever. Wait, come on." Emma tried to sound serious, but her shoulders were shaking with laughter. This was a medical experiment. Beer and salsa therapy. Scientists would have loved it. The bouncer didn't. He turned and stomped back toward the bar, grumbling something about idiots and cursed internet content. We were left alone on the beach. The party lights flickered behind us, the music drowned out by the crash of waves. I flicked my cigarette into the sand and said, "You know, I'm pretty sure we just won first place on the list of the worst ways to meet someone." She spun toward me. Her eyes sparkled in the dark like shards of glass, but they carried a glint of pure mischief. "You think I'd let anyone else have the honor of the first salsa smear on my back? Only you, Jake. Only you." We cracked up again, and that's when I noticed people from the bar were still watching us. A few had their phones out filming. "Look, tomorrow all of Santa Monica is going to know about your salsa therapy," I warned. "Oh, let them try," she said, standing tall with that reckless grin. "If I'm already humiliated, then I'm going to make it stylish." And suddenly, like she was possessed by some divine madness, she ran into the middle of the beach and shouted, "People, tonight, I'm inventing a new dance. The salsa burn." She started spinning, waving her arms, pretending the salsa was still burning her skin. And unbelievably, a couple of drunk guys jumped in. Within a minute, there was a whole circle around her. People rolling, flailing, splashing beer on themselves in rhythm with the music. "This is insane," I muttered, but inside something lit up. Something I hadn't felt in ages. Freedom. Full shameless freedom. I joined in, and within 5 minutes we turned the beach into a carnival. The bartender, the same one who'd blasted us with the fire extinguisher, came out to watch. Instead of chasing us off, he just shook his head in disbelief. "You two are insane," the bartender muttered as we ran past him, pretending to be burning tourists. "Write that down in history," Emma shouted back. At some point, she grabbed my hand. Her fingers were cold from the beer, sticky from the salsa, and still perfect. We stopped, breathing hard, and looked at each other. The whole beach was jumping, laughing, copying our ridiculous moves. But for us, it felt like time froze for just a second. "You know," she whispered, leaning closer, "after tonight, I'll have 2 options. Either forget you as the most humiliating disaster of my life, or remember you forever." I smiled. "I'm voting for option 2. She laughed and kissed me. The taste was strange. Smoke, tequila, and damn it, salsa. But maybe that's exactly how a first kiss is supposed to taste when it happens to the sound of crashing waves and 100 drunk witnesses laughing in the background. The beach slowly quieted. The DJ packed up. The bar closed. People drifted away in small groups, still laughing and mimicking the new dance that had already become a meme before sunrise. Emma and I stayed behind. She sat in the sand, slipping off her sandals and digging her toes into the warm grains. I collapsed beside her, my whole body buzzing from the stupid but glorious night. The air was cooler. The waves rolled like an endless soundtrack. And for the first time that evening, no laughter around us, just us, you know. She leaned her elbow against my shoulder. "I didn't plan on meeting anyone tonight. I just wanted to drink, hear some music, maybe dance a little, and instead I got smeared with salsa and drenched in beer." "Well, that's the classic romantic setup," I said, pulling a mock-serious face. 2 people meet, one dumps chili sauce all over the other, and boom, they can't leave each other's side. She let out a soft laugh, then fell silent. Her gaze drifted to the horizon where the dark ocean melted into the sky. "But seriously," she said, her voice a little rough, "it's been a long time since I felt this good. Even if my back feels like I just survived a solar apocalypse." I looked at her. Her hair was a mess, her cheeks flushed from alcohol and laughter, her lips shining faintly with beer. And suddenly, I wanted to say something important, but the words got stuck in my throat. "You're incredible," I finally blurted out. She lifted her eyes at me, surprised, and instead of sarcasm or another joke, just a soft smile, the kind that makes your heart skip a beat. We sat there in silence. The minutes stretched. The sand cooled beneath us. And then she leaned toward me. No rush, no laughter, just as if this was exactly how it was meant to be. Her kiss this time was different. Quiet, deep, no salsa flavor, Just something warm and completely new. You know, she whispered, pulling back. After tonight, I'll never be able to drink beer without thinking of you. And I'll never be able to look at hot sauce in a bar without flashbacks. We laughed again, but now it was softer. Laughter just for the two of us. Somewhere in the distance, the bar was being cleaned up, the clatter of bottles and metal buckets echoing faintly. But here on the sand, we were cut off from the rest of the world. Two people who had accidentally created a new beach legend. I lay back staring up at the sky and said, Emma, I think we just lived through something that'll never happen again. She nestled beside me, resting her head on my shoulder. Or maybe it will, she murmured, just without the salsa. I laughed and wrapped my arm around her, and I felt my heart finally steady, like it had found the rhythm it had been missing all along. And that night, in the hush of the waves, I realized something simple. Sometimes real love doesn't start with a perfect melody, but with absolute chaos, with a bottle of salsa mistaken for after sun, and with a girl who instead of running away, stayed to laugh with me. Because as it turned out, the person who survives a salsa incident with you, that's the one who's truly forever.